Deep in the birch forests of Eastern Europe, past the last village, past the last road, there is a boundary. Cross it, and the trees grow wrong. The shadows move independently. The air tastes of iron and old magic. And somewhere in that impossible dark, a hut stands on two enormous chicken legs, turning slowly, eternally, waiting. This is the domain of Baba Yaga. Not a fairy tale. Not a bedtime story. Baba Yaga is one of the oldest and most complex figures in all of Slavic mythology, a being so ancient that scholars trace her origins to pre-Christian death cults, to the worship of the forest itself, to the moment humans first feared the dark between the trees. She is not simply evil. She is not simply good. She is something far more terrifying. She is a test. The name Baba Yaga comes from the old Slavic root baba, meaning grandmother, or old woman, or witch, depending on who is speaking and how afraid they are. Yaga is more mysterious. Some scholars connect it to the Proto-Slavic word for horror. Others to the Sanskrit yajna, sacrifice. The name itself is a warning. The grandmother of sacrifice. The old woman of horror. She appears in hundreds of Russian, Ukrainian, Polish, and Czech folk tales. But she is never the same twice. In one story, she is a cannibal witch who bakes children in her oven. In another, she is a wise crone who gives magical gifts to the worthy. In a third, she is three sisters, all named Baba Yaga, each more terrible than the last. This inconsistency is not a flaw in the mythology. It is the point. Baba Yaga is a mirror. She shows you what you bring to her. The most famous depiction comes from the Russian artist Ivan Bilibin in 1899. His illustration shows Baba Yaga in her flying mortar, pestle in hand, grinning with iron teeth, racing through a dark forest beneath a blood-red moon. It is one of the most reproduced images in Russian art. And it captures something essential. Baba Yaga is motion. She is the forest in movement. She is the dark that chases you. Her home is legendary. A hut that stands on two giant chicken legs, spinning in place, facing away from all who approach. To enter, you must command it. Turn around, front to me, back to the forest. Only then does the door, a mouth lined with sharp teeth, open to admit you. Inside, the hut is impossible. It appears small from outside but contains vast halls, forests, oceans, entire worlds. The walls are lined with jars of preserved darkness. The floor is carpeted with the dust of centuries. And in the center, always, the oven. A massive stone furnace that is both her kitchen and her weapon. In many tales, she tries to bake the hero alive. "I'm hungry," she says. "I'll eat you." But the oven is also warmth. It is shelter. It is the difference between freezing in the forest and surviving the night. The fence surrounding her domain is made of human bones. Birchwood posts connected by sinew. And on each post, a human skull with burning eyes. At night, the skulls glow like lanterns, lighting the path to her door. This is not decoration. It is a warning. And a record. Every skull is someone who came to Baba Yaga and failed her test. But here is what makes Baba Yaga truly unique among mythological figures. She can be survived. She can be outsmarted. She can even be helped. The most famous tale is Vasilisa the Beautiful. A young girl, orphaned and abused by her cruel stepmother, is sent to Baba Yaga to fetch fire. A death sentence disguised as a chore. But Vasilisa carries a magic doll, a gift from her dying mother, that whispers advice and helps with impossible tasks. Baba Yaga sets 3 trials. Clean the house. Cook the meal. Separate poppy seeds from a pile of dirt. Each task is designed to be impossible. Each task Vasilisa completes through a combination of the doll's help and her own courage and work ethic. When Baba Yaga returns and sees everything done, she is impressed. She answers Vasilisa's questions. She gives her a skull full of burning coals, magical fire that incinerates the stepmother and her daughters. Vasilisa returns home not just alive, but transformed. She becomes a renowned weaver in Moscow. She survives the Bone Mother and builds a life from the ashes. The tale encodes a brutal truth. In the world of Slavic folklore, goodness alone does not save you. You need cunning. You need help. And you need to do the work. But Baba Yaga is not just a fairy tale villain. She is a cosmological figure. Scholars like Joanna Hubbs and Andreas Johns have traced her role in Slavic creation myths. In some traditions, Baba Yaga is the guardian of the boundary between the world of the living and the world of the dead. Her hut sits exactly on that threshold. The chicken legs are not random, they represent the liminal state between earth and sky, between here and the other world. In this reading, Baba Yaga is not a witch. She is a psychopomp. A guide for the dead. The skulls on her fence are not trophies, they are the souls she has escorted to the afterlife. The oven is not a weapon, it is a transformative fire, burning away the old self so the new self can emerge. This dual nature, destroyer and helper, death and transformation, is what makes Baba Yaga endure. She is not a monster to be slain. She is a force to be negotiated with. Her tools are iconic. The mortar and pestle, she flies through the sky in a giant wooden mortar, steering with the pestle, sweeping away her tracks with a broom. This is not just transportation. The mortar is a vessel of transformation. In alchemical tradition, the mortar is where raw materials are ground into something new. Baba Yaga grinds. She transforms. She takes what you are and makes you into what you could be if you survive the grinding. The broom is equally significant. In Slavic folklore, the broom sweeps away the old. It cleanses. It prepares the space for the new. Baba Yaga sweeps her tracks so no one can follow her, but also so no one can return to where they were. Once you meet her, you cannot go back. Only forward. And then there are her 3 riders. In some tales, Baba Yaga commands 3 horsemen, 1 white, 1 red, 1 black. They represent the cycle of the day. Dawn, noon, and midnight. They represent the cycle of life. Birth, life, and death. Baba Yaga commands all 3. She is time itself. The old woman who was here before you and will be here after you are dust. The chicken legs of her hut have fascinated scholars for centuries. Some connect them to the chicken-legged houses of the Scythians, ancient nomadic people of the steppe who built ritual structures on bird legs. Others see them as a reference to the liminal nature of the chicken itself, an animal that lives on the boundary between wild and domestic, between earth and air. The chicken is a threshold creature. And so is Baba Yaga. In the 1860s, the Russian folklorist Alexander Afanasiev collected over 300 tales featuring Baba Yaga. He organized them into 3 types. In the first, Baba Yaga is a cannibal who tries to eat the hero. In the second, she is a donor figure who gives magical gifts to those who pass her tests. In the third, she is a kidnapper who steals children or young women. But Afanasiev noted something crucial. The type of tale depends entirely on the hero. Brave, clever, hard-working heroes encounter the helpful Baba Yaga. Lazy, rude, selfish heroes encounter the cannibal. She is not 2 different beings. She is one being responding to 2 different kinds of person. This is the deepest teaching of the Baba Yaga myth. The darkness is not fixed. It responds to you. Bring courage, and the forest gives you fire. Bring fear, and the forest devours you. In modern Russia, Baba Yaga has become a cultural icon. She appears in films, video games, novels, and political cartoons. During the Soviet era, she was reimagined as a symbol of the old world, superstitious, dangerous, but also authentically Russian. In the post-Soviet era, she became a symbol of female power, independent, ungovernable, answerable to no one. But the original Baba Yaga is more complex than any modern reinterpretation. She is not a feminist icon or a nationalist symbol. She is the forest. She is the dark. She is the test that every human must face when they leave the safety of the known world and step into the unknown. And here is the part that the sanitized versions always leave out. Baba Yaga eats people. Not metaphorically. In the oldest tales, she is a cannibal. She grinds human bones in her mortar. She bakes children in her oven. She hangs their skins on the fence. This is not a metaphor for personal growth. This is a real, visceral terror that our ancestors carried with them into the dark forests of Eastern Europe. The fairy tale versions softened her, Disneyfied her, made her a quirky old lady with a walking house. But the original Baba Yaga would have eaten Disney. She would have ground the mouse to powder and used it for seasoning. Why did our ancestors create such a figure? Because the forest was real. The dark was real. The threat of starvation, of freezing, of being lost and alone in an indifferent wilderness, that was real. Baba Yaga is the personification of all of it. She is the forest that can kill you or save you, depending on how you walk through it. And the test she sets: clean the house, cook the meal, sort the seeds. These are not arbitrary. They are the skills of survival. They are the work of keeping a home, of feeding a family, of doing the impossible tasks that life demands when everything is against you. Baba Yaga does not test your strength. She tests your character. There is a version of the Vasilisa tale that most people don't know. In it, after Vasilisa returns home with the burning skull, she does not live happily ever after. She grows old. She becomes a renowned weaver. But she never forgets Baba Yaga. And in her old age, when her own granddaughter asks about the old woman in the forest, Vasilisa tells her, "Go to her. Face her. Do the work. The forest is not your enemy. But it is not your friend either. It is the test. And the test is everything." Baba Yaga endures because she asks the question that every mythology must answer. What happens when you leave the safety of the village and enter the dark? Do you become prey? Or do you become something more? The answer, Baba Yaga says, depends entirely on you. She is waiting. In the birch forest. In the dark between the trees. In the moment before you decide whether to turn around or keep walking. Her hut is turning. Her skulls are burning. Her oven is hot. The question is not whether you will meet Baba Yaga. The question is what you will bring with you when you do. Because the Bone Mother does not create monsters. She reveals them. And sometimes, if you are very brave, and very clever, and very lucky, she reveals heroes instead.